Remember what it was like to be a kid? To explore and play. To roam free all day. In Jamestown, North Carolina, we get out of the grind and escape into the moment. People feel good here. Let loose here. Eat well here. Feel swell here. We go for a ride or an afternoon stroll. We cheer each other on. And go for the goal. Here, a treasured history meets the energy of a town on the rise. In a place with true heart and soul, and where we have our own special beat. Jamestown, North Carolina, where history and possibility meet.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Yes, Councilmember Glanville,
Here.
Councilmember Rayburn,
Here.
Mayor Montgomery,
Here.
Councilmember Burgess,
Here.
Councilmember Wolf.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. At this time, would Jose Dunst of Troop 42 please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please bow your heads for a moment of silence. Thank you. Council, do we have any items to be added or deleted or changed on the agenda?
Yes, I'd like to request to add a resolution directing the clerk to investigate an annexation petition as item C under new business, to remove the resolution honoring Ed Stafford from the agenda, and to add the consideration of approval of amendment to contract audit accounts with Strickland Hardy PLLC as the first item under old business, and to remove the presentation of audit report summary fiscal year 2022-2023 from the agenda.
I'll make a second to that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with those changes?
I move to approve the consent agenda with those changes.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Do we have anyone sign up for public comment?
Nobody signed up.
Thank you. Okay. At this time, Russ, would you join Councilmember Burgess at the podium so she can present your resolution? It's fine.
Okay. We'll both be.
Okay, resolution honoring Russ Walker Jr. Whereas Russ Walker has been a public servant in a multitude of ways throughout his lifetime, and whereas he was appointed to the planning board as an alternate in July 2016 and has been a permanent planning board member since January 2018. And whereas Russ Walker was appointed to be the vice chair of the planning board by his fellow planning board members as a result of his vast experience, calm composure, and extensive knowledge. And whereas he brought an invaluable skill set to the board that he gained through his years of serving as Superior Court judge and mediator and arbitrator, and whereas the positive impacts that he has made to the town of Jamestown will be felt for decades to come. And whereas Russ always listened to complex issues intently and would only speak after thoroughly analyzing a situation. And whereas he has innately wise demeanor, which has earned him the admiration and respect of other civic leaders and a host of area residents. And whereas his absence will be felt and his well-measured words greatly missed. Now, therefore, I, Councilmember Burgess, on behalf of Mayor Montgomery and the Town Council, do hereby express our deep appreciation to Russ Walker for his distinguished years of service and do extend our best wishes in the next chapter of his life. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution shall be spread upon the pages of the official minute book of the Town of Jamestown to stand as a tribute to the work and service of Russ Walker, adopted this 16th day of April 2024.
Thank you. I bet those were you are not very good to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to take a minute to say thank you all for this honor. I used to have to draft these kinds of things when I was a bill drafter at the General Assembly, so I know how complicated it can be in trying to get everything right. And I also want to say you let me come into this town as a stranger, and you let me get involved in the government of this town, and it's been a privilege and an honor, and I thank you so much. We love being members of the town of Jamestown. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Russ.
Thank you, Russ.
Matthew, would you provide an overview of the CIP?
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. Our capital improvements plan is a 5-year plan that identifies the town's capital outlay and improvement needs. As a long-range plan, the CIP reflects the town's policy regarding future physical and economic development. By providing a planned schedule of public improvements, the CIP outline presents future and public needs and priorities. A capital improvement is defined as any expenditure for equipment, buildings, infrastructure, land acquisition, plan, or project in which the cost exceeds $5,000 and the estimated useful life is greater than 1 year. Capital project planning is an ongoing process, as you well know. Each year, the CIP document is updated, and the need for or idea for capital improvements can come from the mayor, the board, citizens, or town staff. These items are compiled into the CIP document and presented annually to the board. Through a series of work sessions, the board then focuses on prioritizing the first year's expenditures. Once approved, the CIP outlines the town's official commitment to funding these expenditures in the upcoming budget. During our annual budget process in the spring, as we're going through now, the first year projects are refined and a financing plan is put into place within the budget to fund those expenditures. Town Council and the staff have been working diligently on the fiscal year 24-25 budget, of which the CIP is an integral component. The staff and the council would like to receive public input on those projects, which they feel that they may have merit for inclusion in the CIP. A copy of the most recent working draft of the CIP has been included in your packet for reference. I'll turn it over to the board.
At this time, I'm going to ask if there's anything the council would like to discuss before I open it to the floor.
I don't have anything.
Okay. At this time, we're requesting the public's input. If you have anything that you would like to comment on the current projects or another project that you would like to see presented to the council, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Seeing none, we'll return to the board. Appreciate all you guys have done, and we will be open for phone calls or suggestions if anyone listening online has information they'd like to share. Thank you. Faith, you have an amendment for the audit?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We have an amended audit contract for fiscal year #23, which is required by the Local Government Commission due to the audit being completed after April the 1st of 2024. And the only thing on the contract that is changing is the due date. So that's the only thing that has been amended on the contract. So staff asks and recommends that the approval of the amended audit contract be approved.
What date
Do you
is
have
it
any questions?
being extended to?
April the 30th.
Okay.
Can you remind me, Faith, wasn't it due to the state by a certain date, or?
Yes, October 31st is the original deadline. You have a few other extensions. March 31st was the compliance deadline, but we're not far from being finished.
Yeah, say that again.
We're not far
Oh,
from
okay.
being completed.
Am I mistaken, when we met last time, didn't they say it would be done by the deadline?
We've had a few things come up that has prevented that, yes. And sometimes that happens when you get into, start preparing it and putting it together. There are things that do come along that you have to address that we weren't prepared for,
Okay.
that we knew about.
Okay. Do you think that the April 30th is a doable deadline?
Yes, I do. I do. Yes.
Well, I know certainly having a new auditor, and then, of course, finance director who had retired, and some new software issues, that the first year is going to be cumbersome. Hopefully, it will run smoothly after you get all those pieces in place.
It should get better from here on out, yes.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that it is.
Do I have a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the amendment to the contract, or the audit contract with Strickland Hardy PLLC.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, Faith.
Thank you, and thank you for your understanding on this.
No problem. Paul?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here to speak about the public hearing for the water shortage response plan and the changes. This document needs to be revised every 5 years by resolution. It's similar to the local water supply plan. They're different documents. That was on the consent agenda. The purpose of the water shortage response plan is, when we get into a drought, what our actions are going to be. And being very general about it, when the level drops 5 feet, we go into voluntary restrictions at 10 feet. There are mandatory restrictions, and 10 we're into an emergency situation. There are different trip points. There are different actions that are to be taken. This document, the changes this time, mostly two things. The contact information needed to be changed, as we have a new town manager from the previous one. And our previous plan was called the Water Shortage Management Plan, where this is called the Water Shortage Response Plan. There were a couple grammatical errors that were commas and parentheses that were added.
Any questions for Paul?
No?
Okay, thank you very much.
This time I'd like to open the public comment period to anyone who'd like to speak to this discussion?
Yeah, Paul, of course, I had talked to you, so this actually was amended in May 31st, 2023. We just needed to go through the approval process.
Yes, the document had to be sent in, it was a date in June that it had to be submitted. We received approval roughly around Christmas, and they'd like to see them, that and the local water supply plan approved or by resolution at the same time, and that one came, I think it was January 24th of this year.
Oh, okay.
So then we worked it into the agenda.
And then you verified under the public comment that the sufficient notice was published
Yes,
in the
it was,
newspaper or website?
it was on the town website on March 7th.
Okay,
this year, so.
from 30 days, all right, great. Thank you.
Any further questions for Paul? No? Thank you, Paul.
I would move to approve the resolution approving the water shortage response plan for the town of Jamestown.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Okay, Katie, you're up next with the planning board members.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. There are currently 2 vacancies on the planning board for full-time members. There are 7 applicants for the positions, and council has received copies of all applications. The applicants include John Capes, Hope Ing, Dwayne Willis, Brant Gomez, Darlene Fetty, Eddie Oakley, and Susan Dickinson. Staff recommends that council appoint an applicant to serve the unexpired term of Ed Stafford, which ends in August 2026, and that council appoint an applicant to serve the unexpired term of Russ Walker, which ends in August 2025. Council will also need to appoint new alternates to serve if the current alternates, John Capes and Hope Ing, are appointed to full-time positions.
Okay, Katie, do you want us to do these one at a time?
You can do it, you can break them up, or you can do it all at once,
Okay.
however you want to do it.
Do we have recommendations?
Yep. I actually make a motion to appoint Hope Ing to serve the unexpired term of Ed Stafford.
Second?
Aye.
Aye.
I would make a motion to appoint Darlene Fetty to serve the unexpired term of Russ Walker through, August of 2025?
25.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, moving on to the alternates. We have 2 alternate positions open, correct?
Just one.
Just one?
I move to approve Brant Gomez to serve as an alternate on the planning board.
Second?
Aye.
Thank you.
Anna, where's that? Where's Anna? This was a,
I don't want to get ahead of myself.
go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
We've got a-
I just wanted to come tonight and give you the quarterly update for the golf course. Rounds are definitely up, except for in January of this year, we had a lot of bad weather days, and we had the greens covered up for 4 days. But overall, we're up, like March 2024 was 2,800 rounds, and March 2023 was 2,600 rounds. So it's been a busy March, and in fact, this past weekend, we did 350 rounds just on Saturday and Sunday, which is, that's a lot. They were staying real busy out there at the clubhouse this weekend. But and the driving range is up as well. For every month except for January of this year, where the weather was affecting that as well. As far as the golf maintenance, we've been doing a lot of projects in the past few weeks. We've installed new steps that are stone that won't rot anymore. They put those on 2 different holes, put a lot of work into that. Airifying the tee boxes and repairing drainage issues. We do have a bulk fertilizer truck coming next week, to fertilize about 80 acres. And I know the new pump that we have ordered is in, and the date it's going to be installed is the 30th of this month. So that'll get us back up and functional fully. And we got a truckload of sod coming this Thursday, if anybody don't have any plans. But in the Parks Department, I know we've been waiting on septic tank to get installed so we can start a lot of our projects. I'm happy to report the tank is in and complete. And as of today, we got new water lines run to the bathrooms. And we also have, in that process, we stubbed out the water lines that are going to go to the fountains at the dog park. So kind of put two birds with one stone there. We've been talking to playground designers already to start looking at the new playground. Rebecca and I both met with a couple of them, and it's going to be a hard choice, but it's kind of fun being able to design a playground. Music in the Park is finalized, starting in a few weeks. So don't forget May 3rd, we have Music in the Park. And we did finally receive a certificate of occupancy for the maintenance building. So we're one step closer to that being completed and had our final walkthrough last week. We did a celebration for Arbor Day last Friday on the golf course. The JGA came out and planted trees on the course, and once again, they fully committed to supporting the golf course. They've been great. And we also did a Flower Pots in the Park event 2 weeks ago to gain support for a new grant that we're working on. So we've been busy, but there's a lot of things going on and a lot of things coming in the future, near future.
The flower pot in the park was really fun. Thank you.
Yours was top notch.
Well, didn't I? Representation there.
Yeah,
Did you have a good turnout for that?
we did. We had a great
Yeah.
turnout for that.
Right.
Yeah, excellent.
You got some good input?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Yeah, we worked with a couple of groups and getting some more letters of support. So everything's moving forward.
Great.
I meet with the Rotary next week to present to them and ask for their support for the grant as well.
Did you meet with JBA too?
Yes, I met with JBA at their last week.
Great, awesome.
Any questions? Thank y'all.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay, and back on schedule.
Good evening. Under General Statute 160A31, the town has received a petition for annexation of the properties located at 1903 and 1905 Guilford College Road. As a first step, the town council should direct the clerk to investigate the petition by adopting a resolution instructing her to do such. I would like to take a moment to just review the process for annexation. I've had some people ask questions in email and call. So in addition to a rezoning, which is next on the agenda to set a public hearing for, the Equestrian Center property is also requesting annexation. This adds an extra step to the process. The clerk and town attorney have to investigate the annexation petition and provide a certificate of sufficiency. That will come next month. This ensures the property description is adequate, that the area is in the ETJ, that the application is signed by all owners, things like that. The annexation and rezoning should always be done at the same meeting. So the timeline will be April, this meeting, resolution to investigate, May, the certificate of sufficiency, assuming everything looks okay, and we'll set the public hearing date for annexation. And in June, the public hearings for both annexation and rezoning of the Equestrian Center will occur at the same time. So this time, I'd like to ask council to adopt a resolution directing the clerk to investigate the petition.
Well, I would make a motion to approve the resolution directing the clerk to investigate an annexation petition for 1903 and 1905 and 1915 Guilford College Road.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you.
I'd like to set a public hearing for the rezoning of 1903, 1905, 1915 Guilford College Road for the June 25th, 2024 regular meeting at 6 p.m. in the Civic Center. As I mentioned, this property is also filed for annexation, so a certificate of sufficiency for annexation of this property is expected to be adopted at the May 21st meeting. I just want to go ahead and get this date on the calendar because I know a lot of people are looking forward to it, and I want them to be able to plan for the public hearing accordingly.
I'll make a motion to set a public hearing date for the rezoning request for 1903 and 1905 and 1915 Guilford College Road from single-family residential to conditional zoning multifamily residential for the June 25th Town Council meeting at 6 p.m. in the Civic Center at Town Hall.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.
Finally, petition for rezoning has been received and reviewed by the planning board for 100 near Lennox Drive. Staff recommend they set a public hearing date for consideration of the rezoning of a 1.7 acre portion of the parcel for the May 21st, 2024 regular meeting at 6 p.m. in the Civic Center.
I make a motion to set a public hearing date for the consideration of the rezoning of the parcels located at 100 near Lennox Drive for May 21st, 2024, regular meeting at 6 p.m. in the Civic Center.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, Anna.
Thanks.
And Faith? No.
Staff requests to set a public hearing date for the recommended budget and the CIP plan, the capital improvement plan, for fiscal year 24-25 at the May 21st, 2024 Town Council meeting.
I move to set a public hearing date for the recommended budget and capital improvement plan for the 2024-2025 fiscal year for the May 21st Town Council meeting at 6 p.m. in the Civic Center at Town Hall.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, Faith. And Rebecca, you're up next.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to request a motion of support for our application for the Accessible Parks Grant that will be funded through the North Carolina Parks and Rec Division. We presented to the Parks and Rec, as Scott mentioned, committee, and we had full approval from them. We've also spoken with JBA, and they were supportive, and CJ Green Education Center has also written a letter of support. I am still working on getting a letter of support from Haynes Inman, so I've reached out to them, but I'm going to follow up later this week. We are also going to present to the Rotary Club later this month, and hopefully get their support as well. Additionally, as Scott mentioned, we held the flower pots in the park, which it was a great success. We had a lot of attendees, which felt really good. And we got some really good feedback from folks. So that was really nice to get that feedback from them, and especially from folks who are at the park that had children with disabilities there. So that was really valuable, I think, for the grant application. The grant does require a 1-to-5 match, so we would apply for $500,000, but we do have some funds from a state-directed grant that we plan to use as our matching funds. And then finally, the application's due May 1st, and they'll announce the awards at the end of August. So, if y'all have any questions?
What kind of feedback did you get at the flower pot event?
One woman had a child with Down syndrome, and she mentioned how important it was to have adult changing tables in the restroom, because especially as he ages, it's harder for her if she's there by herself or with her mother to get the child on the table, and and they came from Greensboro, because our park is one of the only parks that has a swing he can still use.
Oh, wow.
And so that was kind of good to hear. And it made us kind of realize, okay, there are certain things that we need to make sure that we keep in the planning of the new equipment. And then there was another group there. Two of their party had children in wheelchairs, and so they were like, this is amazing, please. They were actually there before the event started. So I had a little extra time, so I went over and chatted with them about what we had planned, and they were really excited about hopefully some of these changes.
Great.
Yeah. Perfect. Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to support the Accessible Parks Grant application.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, Rebecca.
Good
We
luck.
appreciate
I
your
hope
work.
you get it.
Matthew, your manager's report.
Good evening again. We've been fortunate to receive some grant funding, thanks to all the hard work of staff and Rebecca and Scott. So I'm going to be doing this at each of the meetings, kind of keep us updated on where we are and keep the public updated. On the PARTF and the Accessibility for Parks to AFP grants, the work to replace the septic tank, which was the first priority, is completed. The water line replacement is currently in progress. I know that the patrons are going to start seeing the staff engaging in demolition shortly. There are going to be bids for equipment and playgrounds and shelters. Those have been posted already. Anticipated bid opening for that is May the 13th and an award date for the May 21st council meeting. So we are moving forward with the park improvements. Main Street water line replacement, talked to Paul about this. We are anticipating the bid package being presented to the public in mid-May. It's a little bit of a difference from what you have on the packet. Possible bid award date at the June 25th council meeting. Dam repairs are complete, and I believe we have received our funding back, our reimbursement from that. Is that correct? Yep. Oakdale sidewalks, final plans addressing DOT comments are complete and have been submitted back to DOT for final review and comments, if any. And they are still working on getting some right-of-way easements. That documentation is still being handled with our public services team. Penny Road water line, we're anticipating that a request for qualification for the qualified designer be advertised this fall. So that is something that we've kind of pushed out to the fall with all the other projects we have going on. Oakdale Cotton Mill aerial replacement, Paul's anticipating that an RFP will be posted before the end of this month. We're shooting for April 26th. Crosswalks, our Assistant Public Service Director, Jason Pegram, has identified that there are available funds this year to complete the repainting and restamping at the Guilford and Main intersection. I don't know if you've been out there recently, but they are in need of being done. Paul has worked with the designer for the water line replacement, and this will not be impacted by that project. So it's outside of the scope. We decided to go ahead and move forward with it this year. The ARPA sidewalk projects, Paul is anticipating the bid award for the East Main Street sidewalk at the May 21st council meeting. The RFQ, the request for qualifications for design work, closes on April the 19th. That's Friday. Smaller sidewalk projects in the ARPA funding are nearing design completion, and we're planning to have those bids posted by the end of this week or so. Music in the Park will begin Friday, May the 3rd with the Alec Ottaway Band, and we have posted this year's lineup and event information on our Facebook site, including the vendors that are slated to be at the events. That may change slightly as we have some more people added to the mix. Litter Sweep takes place on April the 20th from 9 to 11. Crews meet at the Jamestown Food Line parking lot. If you're interested in participating in that, there's still room for you. Just call Elizabeth Greason here at Town Hall at 454-1138. Early voting for the May the 14th second primary election will take place between April 25th and May the 11th. Election day will be Tuesday, May 14th. That occurs here in this room. This will impact the planning board schedule, and they've already moved their meeting to May the 20th. I don't know if we're actually going to have a May 20th meeting. I don't think we have business to attend to other than restructuring organization type stuff, which we'll probably push until June. It will not impact the town council schedule in May. We will have our regular meeting here on the 21st. I will remind folks that elections are the function of the Guilford County Board of Elections. Citizens can find out information about the election at the board's website. I did put a link to that. It's in the packet. Or you can just go online and look for the Guilford County Board of Elections. A couple of dates, key dates coming up. Our Town Council Budget Retreat number 3 is April the 19th. That's Friday, 9 a.m. here in the Civic Center. May the 2nd will be bulky item pickup. It's the first Thursday of the month. May the 20th, Planning Board meeting, 6 p.m. May the 21st, Town Council meeting, 6 p.m., both in this room. And then May the 27th, town offices will be closed in observance of Memorial Day. That's all I have for you unless you have questions.
Any questions?
I do have one, with all of the projects going on, and you mentioned a lot of different bid dates, are all of the information for all the bidding, is that available on the website, or will that be updated there
Yes,
too?
so if I'm not mistaken, and Anna may correct me, it should be under the News and Notices tab.
Okay.
We've cleaned that up recently, and so those are posted there. And if you have, I think we're also sending them out to bidders that we have had, contractors we've done work with before. So if you have questions, please give us a call here at Town Hall. We can get you set up with anybody who wants information on that.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council, do we have any committee reports?
I have a report from, not the school board, but from our school engagement project here. Pam and I went over to Jamestown Middle School I guess it was last week on Wednesday, and spoke with the student council at Jamestown Middle School. They have not had a student council since before COVID, so this is their first year back, and so they didn't have elections. Kids were disappointed from each classroom. So Pam and I spoke to them a little bit about, volunteerism and the importance of volunteerism, heard about what they would like to do for volunteering, heard a little bit about what their goals on the student council are. It's mostly, improving the school lunches. And apparently, I didn't realize the football field is quite poor over there at Jamestown Middle Schools, and they actually like to play at Ragsdale and practice at Ragsdale because the conditions are so poor. So they have some, lofty projects that they want to work on, and very pertinent to their life perspective. So I appreciated that. But I thought it went really well, and I thought we were well received, and we did our thing, and I think we didn't offend ourselves or the town or anyone else. So
We appreciate that. Did you have anything to report, Rebecca?
There was a Parks and Rec Committee meeting, but it was the day after Easter, and I was still out of town. I have it on good authority, they had an excellent presentation with an update about the Jamestown Park improvements and grant opportunities. So, I have a great buzz about that.
Thank you. Pam?
Of course.
Yes.
I've got a whole bunch, but I'm going to kind of make it short since we all have heard, over the last several days and last couple of weeks about the Equestrian Center and 100 near Lenox. So I'll just point out a couple of key points. Of course, Planning Board met on April the 8th, and a motion was made, as we've heard earlier, to move the next Planning Board meeting date from May 13th to May 20th due to the use of the Civic Center for the second primary early voting. Anna Harvalek presented the rezoning proposal for 1903, 1905, 1915 Guilford College Road, and we all know all about that, so I won't need to get into too much of that. Of course, there were a lot of constituents here still talking about their concerns and their ideas and opinions. As we went forward, a motion was made by the Planning Board to deny the approval to council at this time, and then a consistency motion was made and rejected based on the following. The proposed zoning amendment is not consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan of the town of Jamestown because of the land use, which is intended to accommodate lower intensity, and the development should be in a manner similar to adjacent suburban residential development. Also, the proposed zoning amendment is not reasonable, and the Planning Board considers the proposed zoning unreasonable because it does not align with the guiding design principles, and the board further finds that the proposed zoning amendment is against the public interest as it deviates the comprehensive plan. We took a 10-minute recess, and then we came back and continued on with the 100 near Lenox Drive. It's pretty short, thank goodness. Of course, Anna presented in regards and gave the history of the property. The The decision was then presented before the board, and it was made clear that the request was strictly about zoning because some people were talking about HOA concerns, so we had to make sure that, or they were making sure that to stay in line with the fact that this was a zoning concern, a zoning issue. So TRC did review the request and felt that it is consistent with the comprehensive plan. So the applicant was there, did a presentation, of course, followed by some speakers from the floor. A motion was made by the planning board and the zoning request was approved. A consistency motion was made and approved based on the fact that the proposed zoning amendment is consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan of the town of Jamestown and because of the proper planning and sizing for the development. Planning board further finds that the proposed zoning is consistent with current zoning. So the planning board further finds that the proposed zoning amendment is in the public interest because of proper zoning, will provide quality of life, and is considered an inclusive community. Again, I will reiterate that those who did not get a chance to come out to the last couple of meetings in regards to this, if you're watching by home, please go back and review the YouTube videos. You'll have a lot of information there, and that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Martha, did you have any?
Yeah, well, we did have a TAC meeting on March the 26th, and I wanted to share with Faith, I don't know if I had given you that, the fiscal year 2024-25 local dues for the High Point MPO for Jamestown is $844.06. I don't know if we'd had that update. And of course, they're still working on the beginning of the SPOT 7.0 process. They've got all these acronyms, you know, but it's prioritization of projects. And so I'll know more about that, probably be in September before it. But Andrew Perkins, who is with the North Carolina Board of Transportation, he just advised all the municipalities that were there, when you're working or preparing project budgets, just to take into consideration thinking of 3 to 4% inflation rates on your estimates. That's what they're doing in Raleigh. Right? And the PART board meeting was canceled for April.
Thank you. You have any other business? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.